Post-wall women think they deserve the best guy even if their looks are gone, and theory personalities are annoying. Thankfully, many men are saying my way, or the highway, and not accepting any kind of breadcrumbs. You see, it's okay to have standards, but asking for the best while offering nothing except baggage in return is not a big deal. That's pretty much what post-wall women do. Let's break down how post-wall women think. 1. All of her ex's faults are yours, even if you've never demonstrated them. You want to drink after work? You're no better than Todd, and he was an alcoholic. You get angry and raise your voice, and you're just like James, who physically abused her. You want to occasionally hang out with your friends on the weekend? Well, you and Barry are both cheating bastards. 2. She saves no energy for you. Everything else comes first. Work comes first. Kids come first. She just has to talk to her sister for 2 hours a night. That show she likes is on, so just wait. She never has the energy to put into you because you are not important. You are just a placeholder, an accessory for her to say, I'm in a relationship. Men are growing tired of all this stupidity and saying no to post-wall women, or if they give them a chance, they're far from putting them on a pedestal. Check this out.
Yeah. I can.
Acts of service. Let's go.
Wait, should we talk about how lots of people are saying because I'm 39, I'm too picky and I shouldn't have so many. I shouldn't be asking for so much. I'm asking for too much because I'm 39.
Yeah, just out of curiosity. So, do you want kids?
I'm open either way.
You're open either way.
Yeah, I'm open to having a child. And if I don't have a child, then I'm okay with that.
Do you date people who do have kids?
I don't date people with children, no.
Okay.
Have you before?
I tried once because a friend of mine was like, why don't you try dating men with kids? And I tried it and it wasn't for me.
The question comes back to though, like if you do want to have kids, then obviously 39 you're getting on, so it's going to be much harder for you to have kids from now on. So then I think that's what people would be alluding to in terms of lowering the bar a little bit with your standards.
So for me, I only have probably a few years if I want to have a child. If I meet someone and we get on quickly and it's the right person and I get pregnant and we have a child, that's beautiful. If I don't meet the man who is for me until my 50s and that time has passed for me, I can show my maternity and my femininity and that love in other ways. And it will probably be something that I do mourn to some extent. But that's okay. I just would want to find the right person for me.
And how much are you willing to wiggle in terms of this arrangement? Because if you did want to have kids, like we just said, that the clock's ticking quite a bit. Do you have wiggle room there, or are you pretty set in your ways?
It depends on what we're wiggling on.
Let's just take the first date for example.
Okay.
I think that you expect too much in terms of the first date.
Okay.
I can understand that you'd
asking him or having him.
I'll
pay
explain
for,
it. So I can understand why you'd want someone to be financially sort of stable, and then obviously that first date thing, that's a generosity thing, and that's an attractive thing. But in terms of paying for the first dates, maybe the guy is just seeing if you're willing to go halves. Like maybe he's willing to. Maybe he's just doing that to just see if you understand reciprocity.
Maybe, and I've gone halves and I've reached for my wallet.
All men want is simple. Respect, initiative, manners, modesty, and as that guy said, reciprocity. If the woman is not willing to drop some money or even go Dutch, well, she's probably there to get a free meal. And look, just like she wants a man who genuinely wants a relationship and not a guy who zero will pump and dump her, men want to make sure these women want a relationship, not a goddamn sugar daddy.
And I've reached for my wallet with the intention to offer. I've also not
done the
reached.
old fumble.
It doesn't. Yeah, I've
proper reach.
But I'll if I'm going, I'll actually, I will. So I've done all the different.
I'm not sure if I really necessarily believe you when you say that that's an automatic no-go. Because it has to be something else that happened in the date. Because if it was a really good date, and if he was a good prospect, and if you do want to have kids in the future, surely you wouldn't just not go on a second date because he.
It's an interesting question because I think the men that I'm going on dates with, they don't want me to pay for half. So I'm trying to imagine a scenario with a man I'm going on a date with who wants to go halves, but I'm not.
What about like I just said, reciprocity? Okay. He wants you to be showing that you're willing to reciprocate from the jump?
Okay, so if I'm on a date and he wants me to go halves, I'll go halves. I've said that.
But then you won't go on a second date?
Probably not. Probably not.
If she's well established, she probably has some savings to spend on dates. So it just doesn't make sense to dump a guy just because he wants the woman to reciprocate a little bit. Men have to test women. So if these chicks are all about the money and not about you, they can find another man.
But what if it was a good date otherwise? And what if you were actually very surprised because he was generous in other regards and he strikes you as a generous person?
Yeah, then I would. It's not an end-all be-all. It's just it's a difficult question because the men that I go on dates with are not asking me to go have. It's just like not in their nature really, maybe, to ask me to go halvesies. So I'm not in that scenario.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I don't.
So there. I mean, getting back to the whole wiggle room thing, there is wiggle room. You do have wiggle room in terms of the dates because it is.
But it depends on what we're wiggling on.
Like I just said.
Like what? Like he does. Like
His
he
penis?
goes. Like he goes. Like he goes halvesies on a first date.
Yeah. Just little things like that because like if you do want to have children, then that should be something that you're pursuing with some vigor, rather than just saying, oh well, not him, not him, not him, not him. You know. So if you're pursuing it, then you'd want to maybe get to know somebody on a deeper level before you reject them for not wanting to pay for the date every time.
Sure, I understand that. Yeah.
Dumping a guy because he wants to go halves makes no sense. Women brag about their fight for equality, but they never want to get rid of their privileges. Therefore, it's all a bunch of lies. Men work hard enough to demand a certain type of woman. If she wants a walking ATM, she can try and surely will find a simp. But if a man wants a woman to be cooperative and respectful of a man's efforts, he's free to ask for it. Let's check some comments. Come on, sister. It is time for a reality check. If you really are 39, then you are no longer open to the idea of having or not having children. Children take so much of your life that they are the dedication for 18, 20 years. Your entire world must revolve around them, and you know that. To say at 39 you can go either way is to be Cleopatra, Queen of Denial. I'm open either way, so basically no. Her fertility window has almost entirely elapsed. It's fine for her to be picky if she shuts the door to kids, but once you're at the age, you have no choice but to compromise on your standards if you truly want children before it's too late. I was once engaged to a 39 yo, and as we got closer to D-Day, her demands kept going up. Nothing was good enough. He thought she had trapped me, but I finally had enough and ended it with 58 hours to go. Well, these women have no right to ask for too much. Their childhood days ended decades ago, so they'd better grow up. Since they're so strong, why do they want you to do a lot for them? Since we're talking about equality and reciprocity, let's set this straight. Women wanted equality, but in reality, they just wanted privileges. It's nothing but a movement designed to make women the center of society, thus weakening men and tricking them into thinking that women should be worshipped. Despite all this evidence, women can't get this movement is not about equality.
Point on that is because if I could give feminism the most generous definition, I would say that feminism is a women's advocacy movement.
Yes.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with women's advocacy. However, you can't say that it's an equality movement.
It's an equity movement.
No, it's not any of these things. Feminism...
Also, feminism isn't a monolith.
Well, okay, I'll get into that. But basically, feminism is a women's advocacy movement. In its most generous sense, nothing wrong with women's advocacy. However, you cannot deny that feminism is a man-hating ideology.
I can deny that.
Well, what is the core tenet of feminism? The patriarchy theory. Agree or disagree?
Not necessarily.
Is it a tenet of feminism? Is patriarchy
To some
theory,
people, yes. In some sects, yes.
Do you believe in the patriarchy?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the patriarchy theory?
Patriarchy theory being that it exists?
Sure. I mean, there's a
yes,
patriarchy
I believe that the patriarchy
theory.
exists, yeah.
Well, I would, as far as theories go, theories are not fact, and I would say that...
Well, it does. We don't have to really theorize. Only 25% of this is today. Only 25% of who is in Congress, we've never had a female president, but 25% of whose Congress is female, and that's today. That's in 2023.
That's another apex fallacy. You're looking at the top tier of men. Here, you want to take a look at who occupies the top positions of society. The CEOs, the politicians.
Yes.
But here's where feminists you don't consider that men occupy the worst positions in society. And I'm not just talking about in jobs.
Hearing these fallacies is funny because these women only tell a part of the story. Okay, most puppets in Congress are men, most CEOs are men, and, yeah, the most dangerous jobs are dominated by men. That's the part of the story many women never tell. In fact, when given the chance, most women want comfy jobs, not working long hours in construction.
Wish I was there. Women are emotional manipulators and the fem movement further damaged the nuclear family. I'm a man and I have self-control.
You can tell your audience has a lot of sex.
I mean, that's an ad hominem attack. It's, basically the feminist 101. Oh.
I mean, it was actually a passive-aggressive retort, but...
Fair enough. Okay, so we were talking about patriarchy.
Yeah. You were saying it was a fallacy.
No, what was I saying, actually?
You were saying that what I was saying was a fallacy that 25% of who is
apex fallacy,
Yeah.
yes. So you don't consider that men occupy the absolute worst positions.
I do consider that.
Right, but this
That
idea
that has nothing to do with that a patriarchy exists. So a patriarchy would be a state
what is a
ruled
patriarchy?
by men, primarily by men, which passes off power to other men, which is what we have lived in.
That's not true. Passes off power to other men.
Yes,
No,
and male interest, and because of that, because of bias, because that's why on the Supreme Court we want people from different backgrounds, is because people will come in with their biases. If most of the people who are in charge of the free world are men, their biases are going to be for men's advantage. They're not going to think about women. They're not going to think about mothers. They're not going to think about females.
It's funny you mentioned that because we recently elected a woman to the Supreme Court, and you talk about the patriarchy and you talk about men. However, if I sort of have a sense of where you're getting at, if we're talking about Roe v. Wade being overturned, there are more women who are pro-life than there are men.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women who are pro-life.
I think everyone gets very caught up in the abortion debate. I think that's a whole nother.
Well,
that's a morality issue.
I don't want to really
go
go too far there, but a lot of women will say, well, the overturning of Roe v. Wade and trying to stifle women's access to abortion, that is the patriarchy. That is men imposing their will. However,
do you think the patriarchy only? Do you think that? So,
well, this
because
is
you're smart. Because you're a smart guy.
I know where you're going with this.
Patriarchy doesn't just live through men. We all feel it. Women can be misogynists. Men can be misogynists. The patriarchy can live through women.
So, women who are women, are you saying
Women
they
who are
uphold the patriarchy? Look,
Yes.
do we currently live in a patriarchy?
Yes.
Under patriarchy, are women oppressed?
Yes.
Under patriarchy, are men oppressors?
Yes.
So are you oppressed?
In some ways.
How?
I think that, we talk about the sexual revolution. I think that one form of oppression that all women face is subjugation in the form of their sexuality. I think that women are forced to perform their sexuality. I think that women are forced to...
what do you mean by perform their sexuality?
Like, I think that women become sexual objects in the eyes of the patriarchy. I think that a lot of men view themselves that way, and I think that a lot of women are comfortable viewing themselves that way, in turn objectify themselves and objectify other women. I think that in a way that men are just not.
Well, that sounds like zero accountability to me.
As he says, zero accountability. Women objectify themselves, and society says that's empowering. But when men say a chick is hot, it's just a shame, and he should go to prison. The thing is, now women can easily get access to multiple jobs, get cars, houses, and all that good stuff. But when they think about making money, they tend to prefer over working at a grocery store. The bag is the bag, and if they can get that money easily, they are not wasting the opportunity. Let's check some comments. Hat Woman, you speak as a monolith. Also, Hat Woman, all men see women as inferior. When asked about how she sees herself as oppressed, every example begins with, I think. So it's only her subjective view. She can't quantify or qualify any of her assumptions. In other words, she is not oppressed, but she wants to be so she can blame men. Every woman wants equal rights until it's time to dig a ditch or clean out the sewage system. I loved what Brian said about the apex falsity. Everyone wants to be the CEO and forgets everything else. That's not 50% on at all.